It was a relatively warm Saturday when I decided to go for a canoe paddle from Exmouth to Topsham and back to Exmouth. And I started off, it was fairly windy. It wasn't too bad. It was a bit of a struggle, but it was doable. As the tide started coming in with me and the wind against me, the swell picked up quite quickly, and it became more of a challenge to paddle into the wind with the swell against me, knocking the boat a little bit out of alignment, and trying to keep a course into the wind and paddling on one side is pretty difficult. At one point I did turn around and just started paddling the wrong way around and made some headway that way. It was a beautiful day, I'd say, for sailing, and it wasn't long before I did quite a few other boats on one of the things that never seems to fail to entertain is the different rigs, sails and boats that you see on the water. This one, for example, is a steam powered boat that was going a little bit faster than me, and we shared some time together. Old chap on his boat. This is now almost in Topsham, and looking over to the east and coming up to the Turf Hotel. I'm not capsizing here, I'm leaning the boat over because the wind is coming from the left. This gives me a little bit more control. The wind doesn't fill in the boat. This is obviously looking the other way, leaning now to the left. RAF helicopter, I presume, doing some training at Lympston Marine Camp, and looking back to Exmouth Harbour, which is way down in the distance, the land coming in from the left, and up towards Topsham. I eventually stopped to have lunch and just enjoyed the scenery at Topsham. Saw a chap sailing a homemade sail rig, inflatable canoe, having some fun with his wife on the water. Beautiful clouds, lovely day. And when I finally finished lunch and left these two swans behind, I paddled just past the church in Topsham, and it tolled 12 times, and that was enough for me to realise that it was time to head back. So at this red dinghy I decided it was time to head home, down to Exmouth, which is where I saw the, can't remember which ferry this is, but it does tours up and down the Ex, and it was heading north as I was heading south. Exmouth is barely visible on the left hand side. There's a little bit of land to the left. You can see the open section of land between the two. That's between Exmouth and Dawlish on the other side. This shows a little bit of the chop and the wind now coming from behind, fortunately, and you can see how brown the water is this far up the river. There's a lot of silt that travels down with the river. I never cease to be entertained by the variation of boats and sails that you see. So I took a picture of this sail because I really liked the design, the structure of it. It seemed very primitive. And here's a picture of my sandals clipped onto the carrying thwart, the centre thwart, and my paddle wedged in between the front seat and my bag. The bag is just used as a carrying bag and protective bag for my dry bag, which is inside. I have my long line on the front, which I use to anchor with if I need to throw it around a buoy or something like that. Otherwise my boat is fairly bare on the inside. There's that boat again. I told you I like that sail, so I took another picture. And here we have the classic song of the paddle view of the canoe, which is from the side. This is sitting flat in the canoe. When I lean it over to the side, it's more like this. This is the way I typically paddle it. A little wave coming a little bit close to the gunwale. It was a fantastic day for sailing, and the Star-Crossed Yacht Club were having a dinghy regatta on at the time as I was sailing past them. And that's looking across to Lympston Harbour, it is. That's looking to my right now, which is opposite it, which is the Star-Crossed Sailing Club. Now we get a nice picture of the bottom of my canoe in the water. Quite a few bubbles, more than I expected. Again, another very interesting sailing boat. And a view of me getting a little bit closer to Exmouth. And now a view of some of the waves that were picked around me and coming up from behind. Rocking the quite a bit, and again, not easy to keep a straight line with the waves coming slightly diagonal from behind and underneath me. This is about where I think we should cut to a clip of me being completely doolally with enjoyment. It's a great day for sailing. Paddled into this, I'm really enjoying a bit of a ride on the way home. Home's just over there. I should make that in about half an hour. Easy, actually. That's right. As soon as I put my paddle in the water. Waves. Just nice, man. It's just rocking as much on video as it is in the canoe. I need this thing on a tripod so it doesn't get any assistance from me. And then you see how much this canoe is rocking. I'll be swimming in a minute. A couple more waves. Put the paddle down. And try to stay as rigid as I can. Good fun there. I'm enjoying this. I'm sure everyone would. Especially the people who don't like swimming that sort of distance or that sort of distance. Yeah, it'd be a good exercise in self-rescue because, well, best Saturday in months. time. Hobo hand line. Anyway, I'm going to get paddling, see if I can make the Exmouth jetty before I get washed out to sea. And if I go past the harbour, I know I'm on my way out to sea, and it's time to start paddling for the beach with a vengeance. Some big ones coming now. Whoa! This is fun. Better start paddling. Arriving back in Exmouth, the water was very shallow, just maybe 3-4 inches deep. You can clearly see those underneath the boat, and they do scratch quite badly if you run aground on those. I was standing up using my paddle to pole along, and here, once out of the water, we can look back at the sandbars that are now appearing as the tide gets lower. Here's my canoe, bag and paddles on the grass, ready for my collection, and again, tide running out still, and sandbars beginning to appear. By low tide, almost everything you see there will be sand, and the water will be quite a long way away. The dark patches are where you'll find the water still running, but only a few inches deep. Here we see a massive sandbar across the estuary, and it does stretch quite wide across. And that was the end of a fantastic sitting there watching people with their kite surfing kites, practicing on the lawn and watching the tide go out. Now you can see just how little water there is left there, and people walking about on the sand. And I just sat back and watched the kites, and the end of a fantastic day paddling.